Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now they're pre-programmed, they're told what to say, and they aren't always entirely convincing. No, I'm not talking about politicians, I'm talking about robots. And they're getting smarter all the time. The robots, that is. I mean, obviously, not the other one. With technology advancing at speed, what will the rise of the robots mean for us mere humans and the jobs we do? Here's Tom Watson. He's the deputy leader of the Labour Party. And the warning.
Robots used to be the stuff of science fiction, but they're about to change our world. In his budget last month, George Osborne announced that driverless cars will be trialled on our roads as early as next year, a development that will have huge ramifications for the haulage industry, cab drivers, and possibly the rail industry too. Management consultants Deloitte say that 11 million jobs will go when robots do the work that humans do today. The age of automation will unleash forces as profound and destructive as the Industrial Revolution did 300 years ago. Our question has to be, do we make technology our friend or our foe? I think we have to embrace it. And I want the Labour Party to do that too. The last machine age led to the Industrial Revolution that shaped our country, from the factories and the railways to the town halls and public squares of our great cities. But it also left a terrible legacy of inequality, disease, slums, poverty, child labour, and it took a combination of capitalist philanthropy, municipal leadership, and the power of organised labour to change that. Despite their rhetoric, the Tories don't have a proper industrial strategy, because their ideology dictates that the market alone must decide who wins and loses. Labour takes a very different view. We believe in harnessing the power of the enabling state so that everyone gains from the benefits automation brings us. We are entering the second machine age, a new era of automation. It sounds like science fiction, but this isn't the stuff of H.G. Wells. It's happening in Tunbridge Wells, right now. We need to be ready.
Now, we did ask to speak to a robot, but none was available. A bit like Conservative ministers sometimes. Anyway, we're joined by Tom Watson, who made that film. Welcome to the programme. Now, you mentioned this Deloitte statistic that robots will claim 11 million jobs by 2030. Isn't it in the nature of these reports that they're always wrong?
Yes, generally, but it points in the right direction.
Something's happening.
And in fact, Deloitte actually said there's a high probability of 11 million jobs and a possibility it could be as high as 19 million jobs. And if you look at other analysts, there was a report from the Bank of America last year that said they think that nearly half of global manufacturing jobs will be automated, the jobs that are currently done by humans, that would liberate nearly $9 trillion of labour costs. So my argument really is there are big changes going on in the labour market. Technological advance is getting quicker, and that kind of state of flux is greater. And you can only deal with that change if you are prepared to put the empowering state at the heart of that, working with employers and workers to deal with the disruption caused.
I can see the role of the state contributing towards skilling people for these changes, but governments, and it's also clear that you can see what jobs, existing jobs, could be in danger. The one thing governments can never do is see what new jobs will come. You can equip people to be agile, to be ready to move. But if you and I were sitting here, if this was now 1994, we would never have seen all the jobs that the internet was going to create.
No, that's right. But if you just say, let's leave it to fate, let's leave it to the gods of the market, you're going to, I think as a state, you'll miss opportunities. So my argument really is we need tripartite institutions that bring the state together in partnering up workers and employers to make sure we're investing tax dollars in the right way. And of course, skills is one way you would do that.
What else would it do, though? Because it doesn't predict the future. As I said in my question, I see the point of making sure the people of this country have the best possible skills to be able to move whichever way the jobs are.
Yeah.
But you risk huge investments in areas that don't turn out. I mean, the French government did this in the pre-internet age when it invented its own kind of pre-internet technology. Doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I think you've got to let entrepreneurs sort of develop technology, but how you skill the workforce to deal with that. So, for example, for me, if you look at the National Health Service, for example, people are now wearing wearable medical devices. They're measuring their own health in a different way. I think we could have a revolution in health diagnostics, creating a sort of new genre of clinician that will give people the jobs of the future.
We can't even digitise the health records yet.
Well, you can do if you work
well, we spent
together.
12 billion failing to do it.
Well, we're very good at failing to do that, precisely because we kind of got this ideological tension. On the left, you've got a kind of sense of sometimes people go to protectionist measures, and on the right, you've got this sense that you can't plan ahead. The state doesn't have a role in that. And my argument is you just need sensible pragmatism at the heart of that change.
There is what I might rudely call the Luddite tradition in the Labour Party, or particularly in the unions. Has that now gone?
I think the union, if you look at a partnership union like Usdaw, which has got a very, in the British Retail Consortium, say a third of retail jobs will go in the next generation because of warehouse technology and front of house things. I mean, they work very closely with employers to make sure that new jobs are created and their workforce is supported.
So you think that the Labour, particularly the union wing of the Labour Party now, which often opposed new technology in the 60s and the 70s, even in today's, these days are gone.
Look, they have an interest in protecting the interests of their workers.
And they want to manage the transition.
But of course, government, I mean, if you look back at history, of course, the lesson is you can't stop technological advance, and you have to make it your friend, not your foe. But what you can do is provide a safety net for those workers who are in industries that are in huge transition. I mean, in your industry, Andrew, all those poor journalists that have been affected by the disruptive power of technology, you need to find new ways that you could support information in the hands of citizens.
Sure, and there have been a lot of other journalist jobs created in different ways. They often don't pay as much, of course, and that's an issue. On the Labour Party, how will you judge the performance of your Labour Party in the various elections in May?
Certainly not in doing interviews with you where I tell you whether 200 gains or 200 wins is a success for Jeremy Corbyn or not.
We only dream of such answers.
I mean, the one thing I know about these elections is there's always this kind of phony war in sort of expectations management. And, I'll give you a very honest answer. I have no idea what the outcome of the elections in May will be. Because they're a series of separate elections, and I think that the local campaigns in local government elections are going to be unique this time round.
So you're not going to give us a yardstick?
I haven't got a yardstick. I honestly don't know what that's going to be.
How are relations with your leader? I mean, you sided with Mr. Duggar over his sacking in January. You backed the airstrikes in Syria. You support Trident. You want to try and curb the influence of some of Mr. Corbyn's supporters. How are things at the? How are relations at the top?
Blimey, Andrew, if that was the pricey, it'd be pretty disastrous. But actually, it's not true. We get on very, very well. And
I didn't say you didn't get on well. I just wondered how you were getting on, given your various positions you've taken.
Very, very positive. And we get on very well. We struck up a very close personal friendship, which I think allows you to have differing views of the world and manage that through in a political party.
If Labour was to lose the London mayoral election, I would suggest that your performance in Scotland, Wales and even England's already been priced in But if you were to lose the London mayoral election, would there not be a leadership crisis?
Do you know, I'm looking at that question. That looks like another roundabout way of getting me into an expectations management debate.
It was just the hope of an answer.
And well, that's down to Labour Party members.
I've realised
they put
that.
Jeremy and me in as leader and deputy leader last September, and it's up to them if they want to express their dissent at the direction we're taking the party in.
Since I've got you on, can I just ask you this, because it's a big issue you've been associated with. In the House of Commons in October 2012, you said, quote, there was a clear intelligence suggesting a powerful paedophile network linked to Parliament and Number 10. Since then, several £1 million have been spent on investigations. No one has been arrested, much less charged. Operation Midland, which was the main one of this, has been closed down. You were wrong, weren't you?
Actually, Andrew, a number of people have been arrested and some of them convicted of
Not
serious...
to do with a paedophile ring connected to Parliament and Number 10.
Linked to the paedophile information exchange, of which there is a public inquiry looking at that,
Yes.
and various criminal inquiries that are not complete.
But the fact is there has been no arrests of a powerful paedophile network involving VIPs in Parliament and Number 10, correct?
The powerful paedophile network was the paedophile information exchange.
Yes, but we knew that
there is
before you made that statement.
I didn't know that. And there is the Goddard inquiry that is looking at the impact of that network.
So you still stand by that statement you made? Because, as I say, there's been no major political public figures have been charged as a result of this investigation.
I think when you're a parliamentarian, you have to see where you can make a difference. We've got investigative journalism looking at this now. Sure. We've got criminal inquiries. We've got a public inquiry. And I think we need to let them do their work and see where the output of the Goddard inquiry goes.
Come back and talk to us about this.
I'd be delighted.
Thank you.
I've been getting away